Well, come on, time for another one of our interviews, and this time we're taking a special chance to talk with somebody who does a lot of work here behind the scenes, and honestly in front of the scenes when people know, they just might not know who you are. Our athletic trainer, Sarah Charron, taking the time to talk with us. It is Athletic Trainers Appreciation Month for the month of March, so it took us a while to get to talking with Sarah, but you've been busy. You've had, you cover all 7, kind of 8 sports here at LCCC, if you count the esports side under your wing, but what, I guess we'll start off, just give us a little bit about your background and kind of tell us a bit of who you are.
So as Caleb said, my name is Sarah Charron. I have been the athletic trainer here for about a year and a half. I started in October of 2021. I guess my background is I actually was a student at LCCC. I got my associate's degree here in exercise science, and then I moved on to the University of Wyoming and got my bachelor's in kinesiology. And I was originally going for physical therapy, and somebody said, hey, why don't you look at athletic training? I had an athletic trainer in high school. I didn't know a whole lot about what they did, and it ended up being able to do an internship in undergrad with an athletic trainer and figured out that that was exactly where I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to work with athletes from the get-go, so athletic training ended up working out way better than physical therapy for myself as a career, just because it varies day to day. And it is extremely interesting, and I still got to be around athletics all the time and athletes. So after I did that internship, decided this was the route that I wanted to take, I ended up at Northern Arizona University, where I got my master's in athletic training. I got the master's right before it switched to you having to have a master's in athletic training to go to school. When I applied, you could still get a bachelor's degree, but as of now, you can only get a master's degree. So it was nice doing that master's program that now is required by everybody. And then I knew after I graduated and did my internships with the University of Denver and Northern Arizona University while I was in school, I didn't want to work D1 college athletics, but I knew I liked to work college athletics. And my goal was always to come back to the state of Wyoming, so community colleges were a great option. Before I got to LCCC, I was at South High School here in Cheyenne, which I really enjoyed my time there. It gave me the time I needed to kind of build my, I guess, kind of idea of how to be an athletic trainer the way I wanted to be an athletic trainer. And it was a good stepping stone into the community college. And then this job opened up and I applied, and I'm very grateful that I ended up here. There were only a couple community colleges in the state that I wanted to end up at, and being an alumni of LCCC, it just worked out great to be able to come back.
And talk a little bit about the journey you've had. I'm sure there's role models throughout that journey that have kind of inspired you a little bit, and even kind of reach back to who are some of those people that have helped you get here?
So athletic training is definitely a field where it's a lot of who you know and keeping those relationships, and it doesn't matter if they're in the state or out of the state or different settings, we all kind of lean on each other, and I have a handful that helped me kind of get where I am. The big one is an athletic trainer whose name is Miranda Zamora Williams. She was an athletic trainer here in the state for a few years till her husband, Air Force job, had to have them relocate. She's still one of my good friends, still one of my good mentors. If I ever have any issues to this day, she's one of the people that I will give a call to and just get their opinion on stuff. But she's who I did my undergrad internship with that really got me to look at athletic training as a career and helped me get into the schools, kind of helped me with my research into some of the programs, what I should be looking for when I was looking at the programs. Like I said, she's one that I still talk to today. I still have a handful of other ones that are in the state that I had known since I was younger and had always talked to, never really, like I said, understood what athletic training was. And when I decided to go into that field, I asked a lot of them what their journey was, how they got into the profession, all those type of questions you kind of want to know before you dive fully in. So there's Chelsea at Kelly Walsh High School that I've spoke with a lot. Jenna, she's out of Gillette. She's no longer at a high school. And then there's the preceptors I had during grad school and my professors. I'm still pretty close with some of the professors that I had while I was in the NAU program that I'll reach out to every once in a while, or I'll see at conventions like this weekend at RMATA. There were quite a few. I didn't get to go, unfortunately, but They still reached out to see if I was going to be around so we could all meet up. But there's still people that I reach out to every time that I have any sort of questions that they just kind of help me along the way. And that's how athletic training is as a whole. You build those relationships and you definitely use them. Even people that are in the profession for 20 years have that one person that they call when they are a little confused or something new pops up.
Well, I know you mentioned, and you mentioned the fact that it's kind of this group that builds off of each other, and that kind of leads right into the next point. When you came here, the athletics training department was in good position and in good shape, but you always try to build and add on to that. What are some of the things that you've seen that either you want to be able to add on and bring to the program, or some of the things that you have already been able to add and help improve on?
So I guess the first thing when I came in that I really wanted to help with, that just helped me as a practitioner, was getting everything digital. I am somebody that having paper copies floating around, they get misplaced. If coaches are having to carry release documents with them, it's not the safest. So we implemented a EMR, or electronic medical record system, but we are also able to make all of our paperwork digital through that. So any of our forms that our athletes are required to sign, and that made it really easy because now the coaches aren't carrying binders around with information. If an athlete gets hurt when they're on the road, they just can pull it up on their phones. I can pull it up on my phone if I get a phone call and I'm out of town on personal business and they're like, hey, so-and-so is going to the hospital, or they're in another town, or whatever it may be. I can pull up all of their information right away on my phone so we know exactly what their history is, their insurance, that type of thing. And that's been really handy for me, especially this year with us having the rack under construction. We've been bouncing around on average about 3 different places a week, so not having to carry all that with me has been very handy. And I think once we get into the new facility, that will be another thing, is our athletic training room is going to grow. Some of the equipment I'm getting a second one of so that I can treat more athletes at once instead of right now, especially in the space I'm at. They kind of have to schedule appointments with me throughout the day because I just don't have the space to accommodate more than 5 to 7 athletes at a time. And there's certain treatments that I can only have 1 or 2 people doing at a time. So with this new space, I'll have a huge increase in the amount of space available for students to come in and even just stretch or foam roll or do their rehab exercises, but also get treatment. And those machines, like I said, we're going to about double all of our modalities, so I can have more people on treatments at the same time instead of getting kind of a line of people waiting for stuff, which I think is going to be really nice. It'll help kind of streamline athletes getting in to see me right before practice or right before games instead of us having to spread it out like we have been this year. So I think that'll be a huge benefit when we're done.
Well, definitely the rack is going to have a lot of benefits for you just in terms of being more centrally located as well. You mentioned the fact of having to kind of bounce around to where everything's at. The weight room's not going to be on the completely opposite side of campus from you.
Yeah, I won't be completely isolated like I am right now. It's a mile round trip to any of my coaches or athletic director's office, and it's about a 1.5 mile round trip to our weight room. So I kind of have to schedule that in my day to be able to kind of go make my rounds to coaches and ADs and different people, because I like to do that in person, but I am extremely separated from everybody else right now, and it's kind of a negative.
Well, let's build on that negative and turn it into a bit of a positive, because it's obviously a stressful job no matter what, whether or not you were separated like you are right now, with the amount of stuff that you and other athletic trainers are in charge of and the people you're in charge of. But on the flip side, what's the rewarding side of it? What makes years like this worthwhile? What's been some of the things that have stood out to you this year that have made it kind of be more bearable than if you just looked at the negative?
And that's a big thing. I think most athletic trainers try and look at the positive. We are definitely a field that has crazy hours. You go days and days with working straight with no break in between. You don't get to see your family as much. You really have to cherish those moments. And I think most athletic trainers look at the positive of, hey, I'm here, I'm helping this student or the athlete, and even the athletic trainers that work in the other setting. The goal is usually you want to help those people, you want to get them back to doing what they love, whether that be athletics or whatever other field an athletic trainer is working in. But I think the one thing that I always am looking at is, hey, can the athlete say that their time spent with me was enjoyable? Do they feel like they got the treatment that they deserved and are back to the sport how they should be? Generally, if someone gets injured, I always want to try and return them. The goal is better than they were before. in any aspect. It doesn't necessarily have to be physically. They could be mentally better off after going through some rehab and stuff. So I'm always looking at that as, hey, did they have a good experience? Did they get back to what they needed to be doing? And did they have any issues that we can help improve upon down the road so they don't have these issues for the rest of their life? And I think that's a big one. I also always have like an open door policy. So building those relationships with the athletes that they feel like they can come to me if they have an issue, whether it be, hey, have you taken this class, or know anybody that has, or somebody I can talk to, I'm a little confused or need help, or they have some mental health stuff going on that we can help get them set up with the proper people to help with that, or just needing a little bit of advice. I have that happen quite often, especially with our international students, just because I don't have that support system here in the U.S. And I appreciate that I've built those relationships and they feel comfortable enough to come with me. And I think every time that I have an athlete that leaves my room in a better space than when they left, whether it's physically or mentally, I think that's what I look at as a positive of, hey, I'm helping them. And that's always been my goal, is I've always wanted to help them in any aspect of health that I can. So that's a big one. And then the joke is, this year, my room kind of looks like a storage room. My office is definitely kind of a storage room with a desk shoved in the corner. And so it's just looking at, hey, like in a year, hopefully, let's be honest, probably a little longer than a year, that we'll be into our new facility, and it's all worth it. Being in a dorm room, being separated from everybody, not having our rack, when we're done with this renovation, that we'll have one of the nicer facilities in the state, and definitely one of the nicer athletic training rooms, that it's all worth it to be displaced like we are for this year. And it's only one more year. Got through 1 year, I can do a second, and then it'll be nice to actually have everything on campus, again, not running around trying to make sure everything has coverage, and only being the one person to be able to cover stuff.
Well, we'll definitely look forward to seeing the new rack when it gets here. We're going to have you give us a tour of the new training facilities when we get to that point in time, kind of our LCCC cribs. I got this idea in my head for that. But Sarah, we definitely appreciate everything you do here. We definitely know it's a long job and a stressful job for you, but definitely we definitely wouldn't be here where we are without you.
Appreciate it. I love what I do, and I love being at LCCC, so